Assalamu alaikum students. Yesterday you have studied the gross anatomy of oral cavity and today we are going to study the structure of tongue. Tongue is a muscular organ situated in the floor of mouth. It comprises of skeletal muscle which is voluntary and its mucosa is normally pink and moist and it is attached closely to underlying muscles. It is associated with the functions of taste, speech, chewing and deglutition. The tongue is divided into three parts: root, body and tip. Root is attached part of the tongue inferiorly between the mandible and hyoid bone, where it is related to genioid muscle and mylohyoid muscles which form floor of the oral cavity. Then body and tip or apex, which is anterior free part. The body has curved upper surface which is called dorsum of the tongue and an inferior surface which is related to anterior part of the floor of mouth. The dorsum of tongue, which forms postero-superior surface, is generally convex in all directions at rest. It is divided by a V-shaped sulcus that is called sulcus terminalis. The two limbs of the sulcus meet at a median pit which is called foramen caecum. This sulcus terminalis divides the tongue into two parts: anterior, which is called oral or presulcal part that faces upwards and forms anterior two-thirds of the tongue, while posterior pharyngeal part, which is called postsulcal part, it faces posteriorly and forms posterior one-third of the tongue. Oral presulcal part is also called papillary part. The presulcal part of the tongue, which is present anterior to sulcus terminalis, it is located in the floor of oral cavity. It has an apex touching the incisor teeth, margins which are in contact with gums and teeth, superior surface. This one is superior surface which is related to hard and soft palates, and inferior surface. On each side, in front of the palatoglossal arch, there are 4 or 5 vertical folds. These are called foliate papillae on each side. The dorsal mucosa has a longitudinal median sulcus. This one is median sulcus, and it is covered by filiform, fungiform and circumvallate papillae which make its surface rough. Now this is the inferior surface of the body. The mucosa on the inferior surface is smooth, purplish, and it is reflected onto oral floor and gums. It is connected to oral floor anteriorly by this lingual frenulum, fold of mucosa which connect inferior surface of the tongue with floor of the oral cavity. Then on each side of the frenulum there is deep lingual vein which is visible, and it lies lateral to frenulum on either side. This is deep lingual vein. More laterally there is an other fold that is called plica fimbriata or fimbriated fold. It is directed anteromedially towards the apex of the tongue. Next is pharyngeal part, which is also called postsulcal or lymphoid part. This is sulcus terminalis, and posterior to this part is called pharyngeal or lymphoid part. It is also called base of the tongue, and it lies posterior to palatoglossal arches and sulcus terminalis. It forms anterior wall of the oropharynx. Now posterior to oral cavity, this part is pharynx. Above the hard and soft palate, this is nasopharynx, and below that, behind the oral cavity, this part is called oropharynx. This is posterior part of the pharynx, and you can see the anterior boundary is formed by pharyngeal part of the tongue. This pharyngeal part of tongue is devoid of papillae, and there are aggregates of lymphoid tissue embedded in the submucosa, and they are collectively called lingual tonsils. The mucosa of the tongue is reflected laterally on each side to palatine tonsils, which are present in the oropharynx. The posterior most part of the tongue, this part, is connected to epiglottis. Epiglottis, which is part of larynx. The tongue is connected to epiglottis by three folds of mucous membrane. A median fold, that is called median glossoepiglottic fold, and two lateral glossoepiglottic folds on each side. On either side of median fold, there is a depression. This depression is called vallicula. Tongue is divided by median fibrous septum. This septum is attached to body of hyoid bone and divide the tongue into equal right and left halves. Each half consists of extrinsic and intrinsic muscles. Extrinsic muscles are those muscles which extend outside the tongue, while intrinsic muscles which are present wholly within tongue and responsible for altering its shape. The extrinsic muscles are genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus, and one muscle, that is palatoglossus muscle, which is common in both soft palate and muscles of the tongue. We will discuss the attachments and actions of each of the muscles individually. First of all, genioglossus muscle. Genioglossus muscle is triangular in sagittal section, lying near and parallel to midline of the tongue. It arises from short tendon from the superior genial tubercles, which are located behind the mandibular symphysis. From this point, the muscle fans out backwards and upwards. The inferior fibers of the genioglossus are attached by thin aponeurosis to upper anterior surface of the hyoid body near the midline. Intermediate fibers pass backwards into posterior part of the tongue, while superior fibers ascend forward to enter the whole length of the ventral surface of the tongue from root to apex. Genioglossus brings about forward traction of the tongue to protrude its apex from the mouth. When acting bilaterally, two muscles depress the central part of the tongue. The attachment of the genioglossus muscle to genial tubercle prevents the tongue from sinking back and obstructing the respiration. That's why this muscle is called life-saving muscle or safety muscle, because obstruction of the pharynx by the tongue falling back is prevented by genioglossus. The anesthetists during the surgical procedures pull the mandible forward to obtain the full benefit of this connection. And this question is frequently asked in vivas, why the genioglossus muscle is called safety muscle. The next one is hyoglossus muscle, means origin from hyoid bone. Glossus, the word glossus is used for tongue. Hyoglossus is thin and quadrilateral muscle. It arises from whole length of the greater cornua and front of the body of hyoid bone. It passes vertically up and enter the side of tongue between styloglossus laterally and inferior longitudinal muscle of the tongue medially. Hyoglossus muscle, as it attached to posterior and inferior part, it depresses the tongue. Hyoglossus muscle is an important landmark in this area. It is related to some important structures in the floor of the oral cavity. Its two important deep relations are lingual artery and glossopharyngeal nerve, other than the deep muscles of the tongue which are related to this. That lingual artery we can see from here. When we cut the hyoglossus muscle, we can see lingual vessels, and one nerve which is present in relation to this surface is glossopharyngeal nerve. While superficial relations are same, as you have discussed with the submandibular gland and ganglion, these are styloglossus muscle, lingual nerve, then submandibular ganglion related to lingual nerve and deep part of submandibular gland, and this is hypoglossal nerve. Now these structures are present superficial to hyoglossus muscle. The next is styloglossus, as the name indicates, related to styloid process and tongue. It arises from the anterolateral aspect of the styloid process near its apex. It passes downwards and forwards. When it reaches at the side of tongue, it divides into longitudinal part, which enters the tongue and blends with inferior longitudinal muscle, and an oblique part in front of hyoglossus and overlapping the hyoglossus and decussating with it. So this is longitudinal part and this is oblique part of the styloglossus. Due to its attachment, styloglossus draws the tongue up and back, as the styloid process is present superiorly and posteriorly to attachment of this muscle. When this will contract, it will pull the tongue up and back. Palatoglossus muscle. Palatoglossus muscle takes origin from under surface of palatine aponeurosis. You have studied the palatine aponeurosis yesterday. It passes anteroinferiorly on each side, where when it is covered with mucosa, it forms palatoglossal arch. It passes anteroinferiorly to the lateral side of the tongue at the junction of its oral and pharyngeal parts. In this diagram we can see only oral part of the tongue, and it passes at the junction of oral and pharyngeal part. The palatoglossus muscle, as it is attached to side of the tongue, it elevates the back of tongue. It moves the palatoglossal arches towards midline and it depresses the soft palate. These movements actually facilitate closing of the oropharyngeal isthmus. You have studied the boundaries of oropharyngeal isthmus. So depression of the soft palate, approximation of the palatoglossal arches and elevation of tongue from inferiorly, these actions close the oropharyngeal isthmus, and as a result they separate the oral cavity from the oropharynx. In these diagrams we can see the muscles. This one is genioglossus, hyoglossus and styloglossus muscles. In this section, this is coronal section, this is midline fibrous septum. On each side of the fibrous septum muscle is genioglossus. Then lateral to genioglossus, this one is hyoglossus muscle, and still lateral on each side, this is styloglossus muscle. After the extrinsic muscles, now intrinsic muscles. Intrinsic muscles are superior and inferior longitudinal muscles, and transverse and vertical muscles. The intrinsic muscles alter the shape of the tongue. Contraction of superior and inferior longitudinal muscles shorten the tongue, while superior longitudinal muscle, when contracts, it makes the dorsum concave, while inferior longitudinal muscle makes it convex. The transverse muscle, when contracts, make the tongue narrow and elongated, while the vertical muscle makes it flatter and wider. So all the intrinsic muscles actually alter the shape of the tongue. In these diagrams, we can see the various movements of intrinsic muscles. Vascular supply of the tongue. First of all, arterial supply. The tongue and floor of mouth are supplied chiefly by the lingual artery. Lingual artery is an interior branch from the external carotid artery, which enters the tongue deep to hyoglossus muscle, runs deep to hyoglossus muscle. At the anterior margin of hyoglossus muscle, artery bends sharply upwards, and then near the apex it joins anastomose with the artery of other side. It gives various named branches which supply the tongue, like dorsal lingual branches, which not only supply the root of tongue but also palatoglossal arch, tonsils and soft palate. Then deep lingual artery, which supply the body of the tongue, and sublingual arteries, which supply the tongue as well as floor of the oral cavity. The lingual veins are formed from the union of dorsal lingual and deep lingual veins. Dorsal lingual veins drain the dorsum and side of the tongue. Deep lingual vein begins near the tip of the tongue and runs backward beneath the mucous membrane on the inferior surface of the tongue. It joins a sublingual vein from the sublingual salivary gland, and ultimately they form lingual vein, and this lingual vein drains into internal jugular vein. Lymphatic drainage of tongue is very important. For the lymphatic drainage, we will again divide the tongue into three parts: root, body and apex, and then each half, right and left half. अब आपने यहाँ पर ये अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि कुछ जो सेंट्रल पार्ट है टंग के, इन द पोस्टीरियर 1/3 and in anterior 2/3, they drain bilaterally, means right as well as on the left side lymph nodes, while जो lateral parts हैं टंग के वो ipsilateral side पे drain होते हैं. अब ये फैक्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है इन द मेटास्टेसिस ऑफ कार्सिनोमा ऑफ द टंग. So lymph from the root drains bilaterally in this from central portion bilaterally into superior group of cervical lymph nodes. This group also include jugulo-digastric lymph nodes. Then lymph from the, for the body we divide it into two parts: central or medial part and lateral part. From the central or medial part drain bilaterally into inferior deep cervical lymph nodes, while lymph from the right and left lateral parts of the body drain into submandibular lymph nodes on the ipsilateral side. मीन्स कि जो सेंट्रल पार्ट है बॉडी का ये दोनों साइड पे ड्रेन हो सकता है इनटू इंफीरियर ग्रुप ऑफ डीप सर्वाइकल लिम्फ नोड्स, बट लेटरल हाफ ऑफ द टंग इट विल ड्रेन इनटू ipsilateral submandibular lymph nodes. The apex and frenulum drain into submental lymph nodes, the medial portion draining bilaterally. Now in this diagram we can see various lymph node groups. Submental lymph nodes, these are submandibular lymph nodes. Then deep cervical lymph nodes, which are located along internal jugular vein. They are divided into various groups we will study inshallah. So this group is upper deep cervical nodes including jugulodigastric lymph nodes, and these are inferior or lower deep cervical lymph nodes which include jugulo-omohyoid nodes. So lymph from the tongue ultimately drains to deep cervical lymph nodes and go to jugulo-omohyoid nodes. These nodes are also called lymph nodes of the tongue, and then passes via jugular venous trunks into venous system at the right and left venous angles. The next is nerve supply of the tongue, motor as well as sensory. All the muscles of tongue except palatoglossus receives motor innervation from the 12th cranial nerve, that is hypoglossal nerve. Palatoglossus, which is a palatine muscle, is supplied by pharyngeal plexus. Then for the sensory innervation we divide it into general sensation and special sensation, that is taste sensation. So again we divide the tongue into anterior 2/3, posterior 1/3 and posterior most part of the tongue. For general sensation like touch and temperature, the mucosa of anterior 2/3 of the tongue is supplied by lingual nerve. Lingual nerve is a branch of mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, while the taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue is carried by chorda tympani, a branch of facial nerve. In the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, the general as well as taste sensations are carried by glossopharyngeal nerve, which is 9th cranial nerve, while the posterior most part of the tongue, the internal laryngeal nerve, which is branch of vagus nerve, carry general as well as special sensation of taste. In this table we can see the taste from anterior 2/3 of tongue by chorda tympani, branch of facial nerve, posterior 1/3 of the tongue by glossopharyngeal nerve, and posterior most part by the vagus nerve. Sensory innervation by lingual branch of mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, anterior 2/3 of the tongue, posterior 1/3 by glossopharyngeal nerve, and posterior most part by the vagus nerve. While motor, all the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles except palatoglossus, they are supplied by hypoglossal nerve, and palatoglossus is supplied by the pharyngeal plexus. Now few important clinical points related to tongue. Number 1, lingual carcinoma. Lingual carcinoma in the posterior part of the tongue metastasize to superior deep cervical lymph nodes on both sides. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था कि किस तरह से lymphatic drainage होता है bilateral as well as unilateral, तो जो मेटास्टेसिस होगा वो भी डिपेंड करता है. अब जो पोस्टीरियर पार्ट ऑफ टंग से मेटास्टेसिस होगा, it will involve the superior deep cervical lymph nodes on both sides, while in the anterior part metastasis occurs late in the disease and it will involve the inferior deep cervical lymph nodes. Because the lymph nodes are closely related to internal jugular vein, metastasis from the tongue may be distributed through submental and submandibular regions and along internal jugular veins in the neck. Sometimes there is an overly large frenulum of the tongue, the condition which is called tongue tie. When if it is there, it interferes with the tongue movements and may affect the speech. So in some cases, frenectomy, that is cutting the frenulum in infants, may be necessary to free the tongue for normal movement and speech. Then we have discussed that on the inferior surface of the body of tongue, deep lingual veins run from apex to posterior side. So for quick absorption of drug, for example, when nitroglycerin is used as a vasodilator in angina pectoris, the pill or spray is put under the tongue where it dissolves and enters the deep lingual veins in less than 1 minute. Our next topic is hypoglossal nerve. Hypoglossal nerve, which is 12th cranial nerve, is purely motor nerve. It supplies all the intrinsic and extrinsic muscles of the tongue except palatoglossus. The nucleus of the hypoglossal nerve is motor nucleus, that is called hypoglossal nucleus. It is present in the medulla oblongata, close to midline, immediately beneath the floor of lower part of fourth ventricle. Hypoglossal nerve is attached to medulla oblongata on anterolateral sulcus. This elevation is called pyramid and this elevation is called olive. Between the pyramid and olive, this is anterolateral sulcus. Hypoglossal nerve is attached by several small rootlets to this surface and these rootlets join to form hypoglossal nerve. This nerve crosses the posterior cranial fossa and leaves the skull through hypoglossal canal. After it emerges through hypoglossal canal, it enters the neck, where the nerve passes downward and forward in the neck between the internal carotid artery and internal jugular vein until it reaches the lower border of posterior belly of digastric muscle. This is a point level with angle of the mandible. Here it turns forwards. Now when it turns forward, it crosses first of all internal carotid artery, then external carotid artery and then loop of lingual artery a little above the tip of greater cornua of the hyoid bone. In its further course, it enters the oral cavity by passing deep to posterior margin of mylohyoid muscle. Now it is related to lateral surface of the hyoglossus muscle. It presents superficial to hyoglossus muscle. These are the structures which are present superficial to hyoglossus. We have just discussed lingual nerve, submandibular ganglion, deep part of the submandibular gland, and this one is hypoglossal nerve. Then it passes on the lateral aspect of genioglossus, continuing forwards in its substance as far as the tip of the tongue. The nerve then sends branches to muscles of the tongue. Thus, hypoglossal nerve controls the movements and shape of the tongue. In these diagrams, we can see the course, extracranial course of the nerve. Again, this one is hypoglossal nerve. Initially it present between the internal jugular vein and internal carotid artery above the vagus nerve. Then it moves downwards up to the level of angle of mandible and posterior belly of the digastric muscle. Then it enters the carotid triangle. We have discussed in the triangles of the neck. This is hypoglossal nerve and moves back and upward, and here it enters on deep to mylohyoid muscle. In this diagram we can see the hypoglossal nerve runs initially on the hyoglossus and then deep in the substance of the tongue. In the upper part of its course, the hypoglossal nerve is joined by C1 fibers from the cervical plexus. Now, please remember that the fibers from the first cervical nerve only join the hypoglossal nerve to reach their destination. जैसे हमने पहले पढ़ा था कि कॉर्डा टेम्पनाई लिंगुअल नर्व को ज्वाइन कर लेती है और फिर टेस्ट फाइबर्स कैरी करती है. इसी तरह से ये फर्स्ट सर्वाइकल नर्व के फाइबर्स हाइपोग्लॉसल नर्व को ज्वाइन तो कर रहे हैं एंड ऑन देयर वे दे गिव इंटीरियर रूट ऑफ आंसा सर्वाइकलिस. हम सर्वाइकल प्लेक्सिस के साथ पढ़ेंगे और फिर आगे जाके दो मसल्स को भी सप्लाई करते हैं. बट एक्चुअली दीज आर नॉट द ब्रांचेस ऑफ हाइपोग्लॉसल नर्व. हाइपोग्लॉसल नर्व इज ऑन देयर वे टू टंग, carry fibers from the first cervical nerve. So these are the branches which is descending root of ansa cervicalis or branches for the muscles. These are not actually branches of hypoglossal nerve. आपने इनको mix नहीं करना. Hypoglossal nerve only supplies the intrinsic and extrinsic muscles of the tongue as we have just discussed. Injury to hypoglossal nerve. Trauma such as fractured mandible or any other cause which injure the hypoglossal nerve results in paralysis and atrophy of one side of the tongue. एक चीज़ जो आपने इसमें याद रखनी है that the tongue deviates to paralyzed side. When you will ask the patient to show the tongue will deviate towards paralyzed side during protrusion because of the action of unaffected genioglossus muscle on the other side. So this was the gross anatomy of tongue and hypoglossal nerve with their clinical correlates. Thank you so much.